If you had $10,000 in your pocket today, would you know exactly how you'd want to invest it? Would you put it in the stock market? If so, would you put it in individual stocks or would you go with ETFs? Would you put it all in tomorrow or would you dollar cost average over the next year? Would you skip the stock market completely and go buy a rental property? Or would you just take the easy, free, guaranteed money from a money market account or high yield savings account? This video is going to show you with data and actual numbers what the best way to invest that $10,000 would be in 4 different scenarios. The first person chose to pick 1 or 2 very exciting stocks that were crushing it and earning over 200% appreciation per year. The next person chose to play it safe and chose the S&P 500. The next person decided to buy a rental property, and the last person took the easy and safest route with a high-yield savings account to earn guaranteed money. Which one do you think won? There was a clear winner, but you'll be surprised to see the actual order when everything shook out. My name's Nolan Govea. My students call me Professor G, and I made this channel to make investing simplified. Now, for those of you wondering, and those that didn't see my video a couple days ago, I earned these nice shiners doing some jujitsu the other day, but you should have seen the other guy. Anyways, for all of these, we're going to make sure and compare apples to apples over the same 5-year period. So it's going to be over 2019, 2020, 21, 22, and all of 2023. Obviously, past performance does not guarantee future performance, but it can help to predict it or at least see patterns, especially the longer the data is that we have. If a certain ETF or stock gets a 25% appreciation last year, we can't just expect that to happen again this year and get another 25%. But if an ETF gets 15% on average appreciation over 5 years or even over 10 years, we can definitely make some high-level assumptions and have some predictive models to be able to forecast this pattern and see what's actually happening. So for the loud guy in the back yelling,
"Past performance doesn't equal future performance, bro,"
relax and just pay attention to this data. The first person took that $10,000 and wanted to shoot for the moon, so he just invested all of it into the most exciting company at that time. This company had an amazing competitive advantage. It's one that people would say is not going to slow down anytime soon. And this company was Amazon. The average price per share of Amazon in 2019 was $89.25. So with $10,000, he received about 112 shares. The very next year, the average price per share was $133.72, so now his 122 shares was worth $16,313. That's a solid increase. In 2021, with an average share price of $166.79, his 122 shares were now worth $20,348. He more than doubled his money already. Then he started hearing all this rumbling about people making a crazy amount of money on this crazy meme stock in GameStop. So he decided to join the game. He sold his Amazon and bought GameStop in 2021 at the average stock price of $42.42. So his $20,348 bought him 479 shares of GameStop. Then in 2022, the average share price was $29.63. So his 479 shares are now worth $14,192. Still up from that original $10,000, and no worries here. What goes down has to come back up, right? The next year, in 2023, the average stock price was $19.22. His 479 shares are now worth $9,206. Ouch. He finished the 5 years being negative almost $800 and turned his $10,000 into $9,206. He would have benefited from some diversification and for sure some better research to go along with those picks. So thank you to the sponsor of this video, Moomoo, who's actually going to give you both and will give you 20 free stocks to get started on the platform. Another amazing benefit is that they have the highest APY I've ever seen on a cash account at up to 8.1%. The stock market's going to be very volatile over this next election season, so parking your money where you get a guaranteed amount like that is crazy. Moomoo's great because it has very little to no fees and $0 commissions on trades. It's also highly sophisticated with its platform and software to give you the best updated research where you can research stocks super well, but one of my favorite things is this ETF research tab and screener. You can see compiled research for so many ETFs, and you know I love ETFs here on this channel. I also really like this heat list that shows a list of stocks and also this heat map that breaks things down in a picture to easily see what's happening. Click the link down in my description to get that 8.1% APY and the 20 free stocks for signing up, which is a heck of a deal to just sign up. Now the next person probably watched my channel and knew that keeping things simple is probably the most solid move that you can make, but let's see how solid. She invested all $10,000 into a very strong ETF that tracks the S&P 500, which is VOO. Now on average, the S&P 500 has received about 10.52% with dividends reinvested. Looking at VOO specifically, over the past 10 years, it's received 13.11% per year in appreciation and even higher at 14.95% per year for the past 5 years. Now we can definitely just take this average and get the basic idea, but I'd rather take the actual numbers from each year to show you how this works. Because some of you might be confused as to what compound interest actually is and how it works. Because as you'll see, there's numbers there, like some positive really high and some negative really low. So then how can we say on average the S&P 500 gets 10%? Where does this money actually come from? So like I said, on average, this is saying VOO gained an average of 14.95% over the past 5 years. But looking at the actual numbers here, you can see that these don't say 14.95% each year. In 2019, it went up 31.35%, but in 2022, it went down 18.19%. So that's why this is an average. Starting in 2019, she invested $10,000 and it went up 31.35%, so now she's at $13,135. In 2020, it went up another 18.29%, so now she's at $15,537. In 2021, it went up another 28.78%, so now she's at $20,009. In 2022, it actually dropped, and that's that negative 18.19%, so now she's at $16,369. Then in 2023, it went up 26.32%, so at the end of 2023, she's now at $20,677. To show you how this is very similar by just putting in the average into that compound interest calculator, we'll show that we start with that $10,000, then plug in the 14.95% for the yearly average appreciation, and over 5 years, we get basically the same result of her finishing at a little over $20,000. Either way, good job, girl. You doubled your money even with a terrible 2022 year. Now the next person watched a bunch of real estate gurus here on YouTube and on TikTok and just thought that real estate is super easy and you just get super rich and it's all sunshine and rainbows. Well, let me tell you, it's definitely not easy and it's definitely not
passive income, bro.
But it can be lucrative and worth it if you do the research. I'm going to keep it general here and say that this person bought a $200,000 house by putting 3.5% down for an FHA loan, and with closing costs, the total was $10,000. His mortgage per month is $1,500, of which $1,000 goes to taxes and insurance, and then $500 goes to the principal. He's got 3 bedrooms, and so he lives in one and he rents out the other 2. Each of those bedrooms he rents out for $750. So at the end of the month, he doesn't have to pay anything to live there. Houses appreciate on average at about 4 to 5% in the United States. So in the compound interest calculator, this house will have gone from being worth $200,000 5 years ago to now being worth about $243,333. Since the renters will have been paying off about $500, remember that $500 goes to the principal each month. For 5 years, that's 60 months or $30,000 paid off. So now the house will be worth about $243,000 and the amount on the loan will be about $170,000. So in 5 years, the amount of equity this person could have here is over $73,000. Now with real estate, nothing's ever cut and dry and something crazy could happen. You could have a pipe burst or your roof fall off or something crazy where you have to spend $20,000 out of nowhere. But for the sake of this example, this person made about $70,000 of equity within the house and gets to live rent-free to be able to free up some money and maybe invest that money. So this option for this person was amazing. Now this last person was just worried. She heard that you could get about 3% sitting your money in a high yield savings account, and it's totally guaranteed. You're not going to lose your money because it's not tied to the stock market. And so she just wanted to have somewhere that she could put this money, make a little extra money, call it a day. In all the other scenarios, these people could have lost a lot of money. Their investments were a little bit more risky, and some of them were super risky. You just get a simple interest or just normal. So if you put $10,000 in and you get 3%, you're going to get $300. Even though your amount is at $10,300 now, you're not going to get interest based off of that. You're only going to get interest based off of the $10,000 you had put in originally. So for year 1, she received $300, and now she has $10,300. Year 2, she got another $300, so now she's at $10,600, and so on. She finished at $11,500. Super safe and boring, but look, she didn't get last place, so she looks pretty smart after all. There was an obvious winner here with the real estate, but there's a lot of disclaimers I want to make sure you understand. Real estate can flip in an instant, and your renters could be such a headache that it's not even worth the money to put up with this. The economy could drop, and out of nowhere, now your house is upside down and you actually owe more on it than what it's actually worth. There's a lot of things that could happen with real estate. Next on the list was the S&P 500 and simple investing, then was the high yield savings account scenario, and last was the FOMO dude who just bought and sold super hype stuff. Now, disclaimer for that last one too, some people get super crazy rich following those meme stocks and they make money overnight, and it is pretty crazy. But 99.9% of people that do that and most day traders lose money. Which one are you choosing to do and why? Comment that down below and then watch these 2 videos to keep you going strong in your investment journey. Thanks for watching.